Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, Derek, in an episode I'm calling VGE on the go. That is because I am not in Chicago, Vermont right now. I am in the colorful and green village of Woodstock, Vermont, where my wife's family actually grew up, and it is the morning of 4th of July. And granted, you're probably going to be watching this on July 5th or July 6th, but I threw a laptop and a microphone in my bag and said I was only taking it out if some of the biggest news that could possibly happen happened. And of course, because I wanted to be on vacation, that's exactly what did happen. That is because right now, a developer going by the name of Tova has completely fixed up 3DO M2 emulation in MAME. For the first time ever, you're going to be able to sit down and play Battle Tryst from start to finish, and basically every other 3DO M2 Konami arcade game is going to be emulating at full speed, so long as you have the system to be able to do that. And in the past, that was not possible whatsoever. It didn't matter how fast of a CPU you brought to the party, no game would run at full speed, and Battle Tryst would never actually run whatsoever. And even though I've shown you a bunch of captures of Battle Tryst off real hardware, if you did not own an incredibly expensive and rare arcade board, there was no way to play this game whatsoever. Now, as of today, there might be a few graphical glitches here or there, but you can sit down and play one of Konami's quote-unquote lost arcade fighting games from start to finish if you so want to. And that is just straight up 69 out of 10 video game esoterica magic, and it's why I took my laptop and microphone out of my bag while being on vacation. And you guys leave me a comment down below and you tell me, what did you do for July 4th, and also, are you going to be playing Battle Tryst now that it is available to play? Before getting much further involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. And hopefully the audio is good on this one. I'm holding the microphone in my hand. It is my backup mic, and again, I am sitting in a living room in Woodstock, Vermont, not my studio in Chicago. But this was definitely worth taking my microphone out for, because these are some of the rarest games that for the longest time, if you didn't have original hardware, they would just not be that much fun to play. Recently-ish, maybe the last 12 to 18 months, stuff like Evil Knight became fast enough to be able to enjoy, but not fast enough to be close to real hardware. Having played all of these games pretty comprehensively, I will now say every single one of them is very close to the real arcade board, and they went from being experienceable, as I like to call it, to 100% fully playable, maybe a few glitches here and there, but otherwise an extremely fun time on a piece of hardware that was supposed to be a home console and then got cancelled at the last moment. Because if you know me and you know the channel, you know I am infinitely fascinated by the 3DO M2, but again, if you wanted to play these games at full speed, you had to find a board, and you could go for years without actually seeing a game go up for sale. Just recently, I decided that I was going to sell my backup Tobe Polystars board, and it actually went to Sasha from Full Set, the Neo Geo developer working on Overserved right now. And it's one of those things, he wanted one for a long time, and you couldn't actually find one to purchase. And when I say that video game emulation is preservation, I 100% mean it, because now you can play Tobe Polystars from start to finish at full speed in this custom version of MAME, and it should be getting rolled into 2.289 when that comes out for MAME. And the developer on this one, Tova, has done an incredible job, because for the longest time, again, this game would stutter, it would hitch, the audio would clip out. It really was something that you couldn't have fun with. Yes, you could experience it, but experiencing a game and just sitting down and enjoying it are two completely different things. And now, again, that's just going to be something that is amazing. And I brought this up to the Midwest Classic Gaming Expo about 2 years ago, and I let people play it on the actual arcade floors. They had a ton of fun, but that was something that you had to be there to experience, because I love this hardware in these games so much. I am 100% happy to tell you guys that news, that you can now play around with them in MAME with the custom builds from the GitHub forks and have a good time. And that's why I decided that making a single video on vacation was something I wanted to do. And honestly, it's about 6:40 in the morning right now, so no one's even awake. I figured it'd be the perfect time to do something like this, because trust me, I didn't plan on making a video. I just brought this stuff in case something, in my opinion, massive happened, and this one definitely qualifies for that. And if you've never played Tobe Polystars before, and I'm assuming 99.99 out of 100 you haven't, trust me, this is absolutely a banger. It's basically an unofficial entry in the Twin B franchise. It's cute, it's colorful, it has everything you want, nothing more and nothing less. It's also going to be the first of 2 soundtrack samples, because the music in this game is super charming and it sounds really good here coming out of MAME. So listen, I'll be right back with some more fun. I mean, that sounds like Tobe Polystars to me, and I'd ask what you think down below, but again, I feel like 99.99% of you have never actually heard the game running off real hardware, so it would be hard to see the comparison. Let's move over to Evil Knight. This has to be hands down my favorite game on the 3DO M2, because if you know me and you know the channel, you know I'm a sucker for a good light gun game, especially in the horror genre. This is basically Konami's version of something like The House of the Dead, and trust me, it 100% hits. It is a fun time, and getting another arcade light gun game running well is definitely going to be a win, and this is the title more so than any other. At the actual beginning, you could play, you could experience it, but it definitely had a lot of hitching, and this really wasn't the most fun experience, because that really is the thing. You want smooth performance in these games, and if it stutters and hitches, and you can see the graphics and kind of play it, but have to struggle with it, it just doesn't end up being all that much fun. And it's one of those things. 3DO M2 arcade games have emulated for a long time, but just not fast enough so you'd actually be able to enjoy them, and that's going to be the complete difference here, because you will see this is running at full speed. There really isn't any hitching or anything to talk about whatsoever, and I don't really see any graphical glitches in Evil Knight either. But I think Battle Tryst is the real main takeaway of this video, because before you could never actually see the character polygons running on the emulation. It would be completely corrupted, and that is because the 3DO M2, much like a lot of consoles out there, it was operating system based, and it has a lot of different calls and functions to the hardware. For something like Evil Knight that would render graphics for like the last 18 to 24 months, that was using calls that were already in emulation, where something like Evil Knight just was not. Just don't forget, you have to go into the test menu and actually change the blood to red if you want the destructible zombies, and you want those blood sprays, not just the lightning bolts. And that's something that I definitely think makes the game that much better, because this is just The House of the Dead by a different name in all the best ways. Is it technically a clone, or maybe a little bit of a copycat of The House of the Dead? Of course it is, but it's every bit as fun in my opinion. It has so much weird charm, so much janky, terrible voice acting. It hits the same high notes as well as the same low notes that we love to hear when it comes to arcade fun. And I'm just stoked that I'm able to finally make this video, because for the longest time I've always wanted everyone to be able to enjoy these games, because it just shouldn't be me, the person that's able to find and own all the boards, that actually gets to enjoy them. That is why I would take the boards out in public and put them at different expos. That's why if I did have spares and I knew another collector that really wanted to play a game and valued it, I would actually sell them one at a very fair rate, because I don't need to own all of this stuff. I just own it so I could preserve it, so I can make videos on it, dump different variations of the disc that came with the boards to make sure it's preserved for all time. That way when we had better emulation, there wasn't anything 3DO M2 out there in addition to what was already dumped long before I came around that people couldn't experience. Now that is in fact the case. And like I said, trust me, Evil Knight, it's absolutely a vibe. I love it. I'm just not quite sure what's going on with the skeleton here. Kind of just looks like a dude that put on some skeleton jammies and decided to run with it. And since it is 6:30 in the morning on July 4th, maybe I've got my own skeleton jammies on. You wouldn't exactly know what I'm wearing now, would you? But all jokes aside, definitely worth making a video on vacation for. And don't worry, by the time you watch this, I'll be back in Chicago in about 24 hours and we'll be back to the regularly scheduled programming. One more soundtrack sample, this time of Evil Knight, because the music and sound effects are quite good. And I'll come back and show you even more 3DO M2 games you can play today.
What is this? We made it to the last room. We've got to find out what this room is for.
Can we control this enormous adverse tide of entropy?
But we've got to look for Liv.
I mean, just straight up an awesome game with an awesome soundtrack. But moving over to the fourth game I'm going to show you, and yes, Heat of 1198, the soccer game, is working well as well. Just didn't have time to get all 5 games captured. This is Total Vice, and again, absolutely just such a fun game. And if you don't remember Lethal Enforcers, that franchise, this is basically the unofficial sequel to that as well, because Konami didn't really want to give the games on the 3DO M2 those kind of serious titles, with Tobe Polystars being kind of a twin beat game, and Total Vice basically being a Lethal Enforcers game. But that's exactly what you're getting here when you play it. It's basically a 80s to 90s action movie in all the best and funniest ways, and this arcade cabinet actually did show up in an Eddie Murphy movie where he played a cop, and he is playing the arcade cabinet in a bodega, I believe in New York City. But off the top of my head, again, 7 o'clock in the morning on something like July 4th, I just can't bring the name of that movie up to the top of my head. So if you do know what it is, leave me a comment down below. And also, I am curious if you've ever played these games in arcades: Tobe, Polystars, Evil Knight, Heat of 1198, Total Vice. Leave me a comment down below and you tell me. I'd be very curious to see if anyone actually encountered these games back in the day on arcade game boards, because it's one of those things. I never actually saw a single arcade cabinet back in the day for what came over to North America, which was Evil Knight and Total Vice. I only got them after I started collecting arcade boards and 3D M2 stuff, so for me, I've never actually seen the real arcade cabinet in arcades, which seems kind of strange, but it in fact is true. So if you have seen one, I would love to hear the story about that one. But just like every other game I've shown you, so long as you have a fast enough CPU, you're going to be good to go on this one, because I am on my laptop, which has an Intel i7, and it's one of those things. I think it's about 3 years old now, so probably the 12,000 series. I was totally fine on it, but I don't remember the spec of my laptop because I rarely use it. It's just here kind of as a backup thing in case I need to make videos on the road, which I did here, and that is exactly what I did because I was so excited to share the news with you guys, because I love 3D M2. I love these arcade games. I've always wanted more people to be able to experience them, and now with this most recent update to MAME, you can do exactly that. So if you want to play around with this one, go to my Discord down below, because there is a build there as well. It is kind of hard to find right now until it merges into MAME.289, hopefully at the end of July. We'll just have to wait and see. But in the meantime, this build exists. You can play it. You can play every single 3D M2 game at full speed, so long as you got the specs to bring along to the party. No, it's not going to be working on a potato. And yes, it is 10 out of 10 fun, and why I decided to make a video on July 4th to show you guys on the 5th or the 6th. Short of that, hope you guys had a good 4th. Definitely go to my Discord and grab this one. Go play some M2, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.